Hey y'all, welcome to War, a community that help women to unlock their voice and tell their stories in the earth. And today I'm going to be talking about adaptation. Adaptation. You can look it up. I'm gonna do I be having my own, y'all, my own little definitions of things, but the definition of it is a change or a process, a change which an organism or species become better suited to its environment. Which this meaning is so powerful. If you did not watch, read my last blog. I talked about environment and experiences and how our environments and our experiences actually forms our belief systems, our perspectives, our beliefs, our limited beliefs, or because I want you to understand that you are abundant. We're going to talk about that. I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but I really like this topic I'm going to be talking about today. But our environment and also our experiences, it shapes our mind. It changes the chemistry inside of our brain. I want you to understand when a baby come in this world, they coming in as a blank candidate, waiting to get poured into. But when the environment is not conducive for that child to learn and become their true authentic self, they end up conforming to what their environment says or what their experiences says. Because the body comes in the world looking for information. It comes looking for identity. It comes looking for purpose. It comes looking for a way that it needs um to the reason why it comes looking, because God already put a solution inside of us. He already put questions inside of us. Why you think a child is so acquisitive and asks so many questions? Because that child wants to learn. But when that child is not giving the imagination to learn, and when their environment is very, very toxic or dysfunctional, their brains end up become rewired to fear or hypervigilance. I also talked about inside that blog your prefrontal cortex and how to begin to engage it so it can heal, so it can be fully developed. When a person goes through a series of trauma or a series of experiences of trauma, or their environment is very, very traumatic, their prefrontal cortex, which is connected to your emotional regulation and your decision making, it began to heighten. But the amygdala and the hippocampus that is connected to, which is connected to the nervous system, that begins to shrink and is always looking for danger, which is why a person's perspective become distorted over time, because and it has I would say a tint over it, and they're not able to see in a proper way because they have went through hardship for so long that they don't understand, that they don't see anywhere out. They only see defeat, they only see lack, they only see little things, they don't see the big things, they don't see the bigger picture. That's why you can talk to a person, heal people. I heard this quote and I find it so by Shamika Dean. I'm gonna get into the teaching, but she said that um you can only hear, if you listen to a person long enough, their conversation will reveal the height of their healing or the depth of their pain. And that is so true. When a person have been hurt for so long, their perspectives is just completely off. Have you ever talked to somebody, you talking to them, you like, man, what is they? I mean, somebody walk past and they're like, you see how they looked at me, and you look at them like, girl, they ain't even look at you. But their perception have been so distorted that that's what they thought. Okay, now how do we begin to adapt our brains, right? How do we begin this process of a change that happened within? Well, the Bible tells us in Romans 12:2 to be ye transformed with the renewing of the mind. So you cannot be transformed until your mind is renewed, right? So what does that mean? When you go through, I want to break down five mindsets that a person that have went through trauma that they have to now overcome. Scarcity, which means they always see lack, they never see abundance. Victim, they end up adapting a victim mindset, not because they are a victim, but somewhere their brains had to adapt to the environment to play victim in order for them to survive. I have seen this mindset in many, the person that was emotionally manipulated, or a person that was emotionally abused, or a person that was physically abused. They somehow adapted to a victim mindset because playing the victim allowed them to be able to get over on their abuser so they could survive the living of the day. So even though their brains adapted to be a lower version of themselves, that's what they needed in that season, which is why I love our brains. When you think about how God created us, He created us to survive. So even though in that season, your brain, you was wired to be a victim, you was wired to operate in scarcity, it allowed you to survive in that season. But the downside of that, when it's time for you to break out of that mold can be really, really hard for you to break because you have now conformed to this image or you have conformed to the likeness of your situation. But now the very thing that you became comfortable with, now you need to break out. And the thing with that, with our bodies, and the reason why we have to do these things, we can't do it all, we can't expose ourselves to this new life all at one time because your body will begin the level that you need to operate, your abundant self, the one without limitations, that person that you need to operate in, but that feels unsafe to your body. Me being who I was created to be, it makes me feel unsafe. And the reason why it makes me feel unsafe, because my environment never gave me the opportunity to be who I was really called to be. And I oftentimes have to shrink back. So shrinking back feels comfortable while showing up feels uncomfortable. I'm gonna say that again. Shrinking back feels comfortable for me, but showing up feels uncomfortable for me. So allow my body to know that I am safe. You are safe to act like this, and allow your real self to dominate more than your pre-wiring system is going to be uncomfortable for a season. But in order for you to become who God called you to be, you have to retrain your brain to adapt to this new way of living. If you watched my podcast last week, I talked about how our words create new molecules, DNA. That's why the Bible tells us that we are a new creation in Christ Jesus. The old things are passed away, the new is here. He gives us a new nature. He gives us a new DNA, and our minds are being renewed, and our nature is being, and we are beginning to walk into the new nature. We begin to change the chemistry inside of our brains to let our brains know that we are safe. Now, what chemistry? What chemistry am I talking about? Do you know that you have a what is it called? You have a chemical inside of your body. It's called your cortisol. When you have too much cortisol inside your body, do you know that can make you become sick? Let me explain about that. And I'm going to get back to adaptation and the mindsets, the new mindsets you need to adapt, right? And part three, I'm going to talk about how you begin to go into the process. Okay. So this man, he was a known narcissist, self-aware narcissist, but now he create content to help people to overcome this type of mindset, to overcome narcissistic abuse. He said that one person that have never been through narcissist abuse can have level or heightened cortisol. He said a person that have been in a narcissistic abusive relationship have so much cortisol pumping in their body that they have enough to put in three people, and yet they still have too much cortisol in their bodies. That's how hiding. That's how much your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala, your hippocampus, and your nervous system is trying to keep you safe. But where did that happen? It's trapped inside your nervous system. This wiring that you once had in this relationship, in this environment, in this experience, is now stuck in your nervous system. And now you need to get the trauma out of you by rewiring your nervous system and let your nervous system know that you're safe. How do you do this? You do this by speaking, which is renewing your mind and letting your body know that it is safe. So now you have neurotransmitters inside your brain. These neurotransmitters send a signal throughout your body and let your body know we are safe. You can sit still now. You can rest now. Now your body is gonna start acting up because your body is not used to this. Your body is used to being hiding. Your body is used to being hypervigilant. So you're gonna have to do it in stages, okay? Another mindset that you're gonna have to let go of is rumination and catastrophizing. Rumination and catastrophizing. This mindset is an attempt to keep you safe. So it predicts something that's not there. So before it happens, you can already have the solution. Let me say that again because I want you to understand how crazy that sound, right? When this first happened. Say for instance, you had to always overthink, which is why rest for your prefrontal cortex is so important because you have ruminated and catastrophized for so long that you try to come up with a solution before it happened because you don't want to not have the solution already. So your regulated emotional thinking or your decision making with your prefrontal cortex is not even fully matured, and you can't even make solid decisions because you're always making decisions based off a hidden area in your brain. So in order for you to adapt to new mindset, you have to begin to be in stillness with yourself, that you will begin to learn how to calm the brain so your brain can begin to adapt to peace and joy. If you want to learn how to overcome these mindsets, I want you to come back next week for part three. In part three, we're going to go through the mindset, and I'm going to give you practical tools that you can go through this mind, that you can walk through and actually begin to create peace and joy in your body, that your bodies will no longer produce more cortisols, and you will actually have stillness in your body to let your body know that you are safe, that you can now change the environment by your body feeling that it is safe enough to be able to enter your thriving state and no longer being in your safe state. Thank you so much, you guys. Come back for part three. Cannot wait to teach you this new strategy.